Hello guys, how's it going? My name is Dal, and when it comes to the WoW's player base, there's so many different players that enjoy this game for multiple different reasons. Whether some enjoy it for the challenge of defeating a powerful raid boss at the end of a tier, or potentially competition, whether it's racing against the clock in Mythic Plus, or against other players within rated PvP combat. Though quite a huge portion of the WoW player base just loves collecting all of the things, and that is a big draw of the game generally, as there's hundreds of mounts, thousands of transmogs, pets, as well as toys, and so many other unique items that you can add to your collection. And each expansion is just filled with so much content and so many things for you to obtain, which is going to only grow larger once they add the housing decorations that you'll be able to get as drops from older content. And patch 11.17 is actually going to be introducing a brand new buff to make it much easier for you to add more items to your collection, especially from past expansions, which is the first of its kind. Normally we get weekly events to buff up your gear, or potentially even like reputation rewards as well as other things, but there's never really been a buff just for players that are looking for transmogs and mounts. So patch 11.17 might actually be the best patch if you're big into collecting within WoW. I feel like not enough players are talking about this amazing new buff coming out in the future update, and I definitely just wanted to highlight it for today's video. As always, if you guys want to see future updates for War Within expansion, patch 11.17, be sure to follow the channel and subscribe. But otherwise, let's dive right in. So the Greedy Emissary event looks like, I don't think the actual date for it is correct, but it looks like possibly begins on July 1st. This could potentially be just one of those PTR things where they'll just have like a placeholder date and they'll move it at some point. Maybe it'll be able for short term for us to test this for 11.17, but that is going to be one of those events that supposedly will be launching sometime after 11.17 finally gets here, and Blizzard will be bringing back the Greedy Emissary event, which I actually get confused by when they wrote that they're bringing it back, because I don't remember what Greedy Emissary was until I had to go look it up. It's essentially a Diablo crossover event with WoW, where goblin portals are going to spawn in, and a loot goblin is going to pop out of that portal. Everybody gets to jump it, slay it, collect all the gold and the treasure that it holds, and you basically just want to keep killing the goblin every single day on multiple characters if possible, if you're looking to get all of its unique items. And there's a huge assortment of things that you can get. Some of them, or a lot of them, in the previous past events have been very much goblin or Diablo-esque themed items, from Diablo-specific hearthstones or specific toys, banners, cloaks, helms, or any of those other items, and they'll likely have a lot more of those things added or brought back in rather for this event. And it looks like it's going to be an event that'll actually last for the entire month of July in particular, at least based on what we can see on the calendar on the PTR. This would be a great opportunity for you to get a bunch of those transmog pieces, toys, the Hearthstone, and all those classic items, but apparently there's also going to be new diabolical rewards. They have one of them being a Tyrael Charger mount, something that's been data mined over on the PTR. This thing looks amazing, the base one, but apparently they got a new one. It's going to be like a high-res version, a golden version. Instead of having like the bright white wings, it's going to be more golden. We can't really look at it and preview it on the PTR or anything just yet, but there are some screenshots the players have been able to put down or put up from the model viewer side of things. The mount itself does look great, and it looks like you'll have an entire month potentially to be able to get your hands on something that looks like a very, very awesome one to add to your collections. However, there's also going to be some diabolical armor sets as well. We saw those data mined initially when they revealed that, hey, patch 11.17 is on the PTR, and we saw a bunch of different armor sets being data mined, and it looks like these armor sets will actually be coming from this event as well. Piggybacking off of the WoW's 20th anniversary sets, we're going to be getting another recolor of these sets that are going to be more diabolical in nature, essentially granting every single class a recolor of the classic tier 2 updated variation of their sets. Well, updated tier 2s for like classes like rogues, warriors, all the vanilla classes. Demon hunters, monks, and death knights, as you can see here, have actually its own variation instead. And off the bat, we have the Death Knight, which has this more like fiery Death Knight Bolvar-esque look to the model itself. Basically the same set, just with a red fiery hue, which looks amazing. The Paladin set, which only partially is available, I mean at least the top half is, has this more like red, crimson, almost like Legion style look, especially around the eyes with the glowing green eyes, almost like a corrupted Paladin appearance to it. Of course, there's the mage one, which has this like dark phoenix look to it, almost Kael'thas aesthetic, which I'm a huge fan of this color in particular. And even the evoker set actually looks really good. I'm not a fan of the original set, just being honest. I just don't like the entire makeup of the entire set personally, but I do like the red variation because it has this like almost like a red dragonfly theme about it, which I think is kind of neat. Then there's the warrior set, which is my all-time favorite, taking the original and giving this like hellfire type of look to it with skulls and everything. It looks absolutely amazing. Druids finally will be able to get the closest they've ever been to possibly getting a proper Druid of the Flame look on their characters. Even priests are getting more of this like almost like radiant sunfire type of a cascade look to them. The Demon Hunter set from the anniversary event is one of my favorites, and the this Hellfire Red version in particular looks absolutely amazing in my opinion. But of course, the winner of this is going to be Rogue, which is getting a proper Shadow Slayer armor set. It looks so good. Literally the TBC recoloration of the Bloodfang set. But this one, it just hits different. As a Rogue player, I am so excited for this set in particular. So this event is going to be essentially another opportunity for players to collect a bunch of these variations of sets. So based on the current beta data mining, it looks like you'll be able to collect these sets with a set of currency, a Hellstone shard that's apparently awarded from a Hellcaller chest, which are a guaranteed item. So it may take you a little bit of time to grind all these sets. I don't really know how long it's going to take. Once we get a test on the PTR, maybe we'll get a better idea, but it does seem like something that players should be able to work towards, if anything. There's also a huge variety of different potions that can be thrown at the goblin before it spawns through the portal. I don't really know if that's going to maybe amp up the goblin, and maybe with enough buffs it just goes stronger, but it also gives you more rewards, or how that exactly functions. But we'll have a better idea once we actually get to test it or possibly play it once 11.17 officially goes live. Now, alongside with the event, there will also be a new buff to help players collect legacy loot by increasing the drops within legacy content throughout Azeroth, which I think is a buff that not enough people are talking about. This is going to be a buff that will be available side by side with the Greedy Emissary event that not only allows you during the event to earn a bunch of mogs and a mount and all these other cool Diablo-esque themed things, but also if you're looking to farm up other items from older content, like if you're looking for certain mounts or unique transmogs or anything like that, this would be a buff that will be available. Very similar to like how we have a weekly benefits of like a weekly bonus to World Quest where you get a little bit more reputation with the main factions, or maybe like a weekly bonus for Battlegrounds where you get to earn more honor from that type of content. Maybe a weekly bonus for pet battles, or I don't know, dungeons so you get more gear. It sounds like it's going to be a very similar bonus like this, but it's going to be made available during this event. But hopefully it'll be something that will be added to the circulation, appearing once in a while every few weeks or so, very similar to some of those other buffs. Maybe not, maybe this will be a one-time deal, but hopefully that'll be something that will be integrated, because it actually sounds awesome. Basically, any item or any piece of content that utilizes a legacy loot system allows you to basically get more gear from that content that isn't relevant to how many people are in a group. Right now, if you do Liberation of Undermine Raid, you get like 10 players, you get a certain amount of loot. 15 unlocks you additional bonus item. 20 gives you an extra item, and basically every 5 amount of players that you add to that group afterwards, like 25 and 30, gives you even more gear that could potentially drop from those bosses. But in legacy loot systems, you simply just get a huge chunk of that gear, even if you are by yourself as a solo player farming that content. So primarily this applies for dungeons, but also raids, and also other content that technically counts as part of this legacy loot system. And based on everything we know about this buff, which Blizzard will have more info later down the line, but from everything we know so far, by all accounts, it sounds like it'll be a buff that simply amps up the drop rates of some of those rare items from legacy content that players can get for solo. So legacy content being things, anything from basically vanilla all the way through Shadowlands. Content from expansions like Dragonflight right now technically would be excluded, so you won't be able to farm any of the items or any of the unique mounts from that expansion just yet, but anything before it, you might be able to get higher chances of some of those rare coveted items. So where essentially this buff will allow you to obtain items from older eras of the older expansions. Think about items that players have been farming for countless hours, or maybe even days, or maybe even months, like potentially the Ashes mount from Kael'thas from TBC, or Invincible from Lich King, or Mimran's Head from Ulduar. Maybe you got some transmogs you've been looking after, like the Legion Xavier's shoulders, which have a pretty low drop rate, the Scythe from Argus, whether you're looking for the blue version or the mythic red version, or any of the unique items that have a very, very low drop rate from any of the dungeons as well. It sounds like these items will have a higher chance to start dropping for players, giving you a much better opportunity to go back and claim some of those rewards, which is a massive, massive upgrade for players, since so many of us will do older dungeons, older raids to get some of those coveted items because they're rare, because not everybody has them, and it's kind of a big part of so many players in the community is to expanding upon their collections by doing some of those older expansion runs and farming runs. And this buff sounds like the perfect opportunity for so many players, just exactly up the alley for many that are still looking for some of those coveted items. And the collectathon of World of Warcraft has definitely added, I'd say, a lot more longevity to World of Warcraft. Like if you're somebody who maybe is a new player or maybe you haven't played the game for a while and are coming back for it, there's so many new items for you to collect from older expansions, especially if they keep that content evergreen, which they've been getting a little bit better at. Like a lot of those raids and dungeons still exist, and you can still go back and get some of those older items. Not all of them, you know, like challenge mode items from Mists of Pandaria, as well as WoD and Mage Tower from Legion are not in the game, but a huge portion of these items are still around for you to go back and potentially obtain. And the collectathon is only gonna get either better or worse depending how you look at it. If you're someone who loves collecting all the things, then you're probably excited about the big housing update. But if you're someone who's if you feel you're already overwhelmed and swamped with items, then housing update is not gonna alleviate those pressures whatsoever, as housing will add you an explosion of collections to obtain from older content, whether it is from achievements, whether it is from drops from dungeons and raids from the looks of it, whether it is from certain potentially goals and achievements that you might be able to obtain from older expansions, or even professions. But they're definitely going to be adding even more items for you to collect. So if you thought the Transmogs and mounts already gave so much longevity for any players that are looking like to complete an expansion, do everything, unlock every item, the housing is definitely going to add to that, and having this buff alongside with the housing update in particular, I think would be amazing. So hopefully when Blizzard gives us more info, hopefully it won't just be a buff that's available for like a month and it'll be gone. Hopefully it'll be an event that'll be maybe making a return for like a week at a time, giving players an opportunity to dive back into older content, have another chance at some of those things, and potentially have a better time with the higher RNG chances to be able to loot some of these items. But with that being said, as always, I do want to thank all of you guys so much for watching, and hope you guys did enjoy this video. If you did enjoy it or found it informative, go ahead and give it a like. I would very much appreciate it. Also, join our Discord community to keep up with all the regular patch notes and class changes, either for the live realms or for the patch 11.1.7, which is still right now available for testing and PTR, and hopefully we'll get some more information on it sometime soon. As always, let me know your thoughts in the comments down below, and as always, I'll see all of you guys in the next one.